Take care. Oh, we're not brand new. And this is the first thing on the
Be allowed on my cousin's text.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I already knew that cousin David.
It's the entertainment.
Text change is pretty easy. The worst they changed, I think, but like just. Reaction, thumbs up, your message. Like, how can I say Still does that.
Here's cousin David.
Like, why looks like my cousin Zach?
He went to the bar. That's
There's one for sure.
call it for.
I bet that's wild business. It doesn't. That didn't come
Hi Linda, how are you?
No.
It's 5.5.
but
I haven't seen that type of
Everybody gonna hold.
Once it's full.
Yeah, we should have. Charlie won't.
He won't.
He will not.
Right.
Okay, fine.
Partner. My ass.
No, I guess.
Be like the official one. It's like the official
I just had
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. It's told.
Charles. Oh, he didn't.
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Hi, how are you? Good. How are you? Quite enough. All done most of Time better than council. Back in summer. Seeing you.
It's almost 50 bags. It's got that.
Oh, wait a minute.
What's that?
No, I just needed a power source.
See it?
Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Roll call.
Martin.
Here.
Templin.
Here.
Lane.
Here.
Huggins.
Here.
Milburn.
Here.
Maddock. Schultz.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Maddock is absent today.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, can I remind everybody to adjust their microphones if they need to? Thank you.
Check. Check.
Sound check. Very good. No feedback. That's good.
Excellent. Item 3A, approve the planning commission agenda. I've got a suggestion. I don't know if you guys have looked at this agenda or have any other suggestions, but I would like to take a good look at 7. And quite frankly, I kind of think that we would benefit from having a discussion about those 3 together because it's really a campus, as opposed to trying to break them out and do them individually. But I don't know if you've looked at this or had any thoughts about it. I suppose we'll vote on each one individually, but I'd kind of like to have those all be together.
Have a presentation, all of them.
Yeah, just because they're going to tie together.
Oh, that's fine.
I don't know that it's formal need to change the agenda, but I just wanted to kind of lay that out there.
Okay. And we do need to remove 5A.
Is 5A being removed from the agenda tonight?
Was withdrawn.
Yes.
It's withdrawn.
Yeah,
Applicants
Chairman,
withdrawn.
the applicant has requested that item be removed from the agenda today.
Okay. So maybe a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of 5A, and I don't know that we need to do it in 7 other than just talk about it together.
Make a motion to approve with the recommendations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay. Agenda's approved. Item 3B, approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting held on March 24, 2026. Any changes, additions, corrections to be made? Motion.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, or, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved. Item 3C, disclosure of conflicts of interest. I have a conflict of interest that I should disclose on 5B. I've had some engagement with some of the property owners on that, and I probably should recuse myself. Anyone else? Okay. Item 3D, disclosure of outside communications regarding commission business. Anyone want to talk about? All right. Seeing none, item 4 is call to the public. Members of the public who wish to address the planning commission regarding items not on the agenda may do so at this time. Any presentations for information purposes only, no action will be taken, and there's a 4-minute time limit. I would note for those in the room, we have removed item 5A, considering the special use permit for bed and breakfast. So if you have something you would like to share with us about that tonight, you can do that in public, in this call to the public. Give you that opportunity. Please approach the podium and give us your name and address for the record. Remind you there's a 4-minute time limit, so. I appreciate that.
Don't start my timer yet. I did have to switch gears about an hour ago learning about it taken off the agenda, so
Understand.
just bear with me.
Understand.
I will try to be as eloquent as
Totally get
possible,
it.
but I will probably be reading more than I actually intended.
No worries.
Hi, good evening. My name is Melanie Linemutter, and I live at 9853 South Burr Oak Circle in Cherish Oaks here in DeSoto. I'm representing a large group of neighbors who came together quickly because of concerns for a non-owner occupied short-term rental and how that would change our community. While the short-term rental application in our neighborhood was withdrawn just a few hours ago, the core issue still remains. And what comes in the next weeks from Council's May 7th discussion, I'm sure with you all involved as well, will help determine how DeSoto protects its neighborhoods moving forward. Cherish Oaks is a single-family neighborhood of about 45 homes that's been around for over 25 years. Just next door is a new subdivision of about 22 homes and growing called Arcadian Estates. It's a family-centered area where neighbors know each other and kids play safely outside. That stability and community is what we love about DeSoto, as I'm sure you all agree. It's why we acted fast when we learned about the property and proposed VRBO affecting our two communities. For tonight's meeting, I submitted a petition with an affidavit for consideration. Notably, my petition represented only households that fall outside of the city's official 200-foot protest boundary. It was intentional to not mix with those certified letter holders, which accounted for 9 of the households between our two neighborhoods. In Cherish Oaks, 77% of households opposed the VRBO special use permit. That is 30 households out of the 39 that did not get certified letters. Additionally, 5 households in Arcadian Estates signed as well. This demonstrates a substantial concern from nearby residents directly impacted by a use such as this. All agreed it created avoidable risk in a residential community zone. So to focus on policy moving forward, short-term rentals are not the same as long-term housing. They introduce high turnover, commercial activity, and unnecessary uncertainty in areas designed for stable residential use. Research and real-world experience show that they are associated with increased nuisance complaints, reduced neighborhood cohesion, and concerns around safety and oversight. Other nearby communities have also acted on this. Prairie Village has banned short-term rentals. Lenexa requires licensing and strict limits. Kansas City restricts all non-owner occupied short-term rentals in residential zones, which would have been 5A's situation on the agenda tonight. These policies recognize that short-term rentals, especially non-owner occupied, function more than as a business than a residence. These policies recognize that short-term rentals, I said that already, based on these models, I respectfully ask DeSoto to adopt strong, clear protections, including prohibit non-owner occupied short-term rentals in residential zones, like what you see on VRBO. Set strict occupancy limits, for example, not rent by the room and parking requirements. Establish a licensing and annual inspection program. Require a local responsible party available 24/7 and an escalation plan for residents on nights and weekends when impacts are the most likely. Create quiet hours. Create a clear enforcement process to revoke permits for violations. And consider minimum stay requirements to reduce high turnover use for neighboring communities, like, for example, 3 or more nights. These are not extreme. They are consistent with what neighboring cities are already doing to protect residential neighborhoods. This is not about opposing all rentals when done responsibly, but non-owner occupied short-term rentals are a different use with different impacts. They should be regulated accordingly. At the end of the day, the decision is about whether DeSoto prioritizes long-term invested residents and stable neighborhoods, or allows incremental commercial use to reshape them over time. We appreciate that the council, as with your help, I'm sure, Planning Commission, is being proactive in addressing this now, but before more neighborhoods are impacted. We ask that you put strong protections in place from the start. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. We all know who you are, but you're going to have to tell us your name and
Oh,
address.
I know. Marie Caldwell, 8412 Corliss Road. Probably going to be not very popular right here. Concerning the B&B, just a reminder that I don't particularly like them either, and I agree that we need to have more stringent laws where those are concerned. However, in 2020, you did have a resident who lives in that area that passed a law or ordinance that we could have these B&Bs. And I want to remind you that we have one on Waverly Road that is awesome. And we've never had any problems with it. And we have Grandma's B&B here downtown, and we've never had any problems with it. So I think that's a big consideration as well. I don't think that you can say, yes, let's have these, and then not in my backyard. So that's just my opinion about it. However, I do believe that we need to have more stringent rules on what would be allowed with them. Thanks.
Thanks, Doug.
Hi, my name's Tim Petty, and I live in Cherished Oaks as well at 30854 West 98th Street. One of the original owners in that particular area. Don Parr's the one that established the area. And when he did that, there was 45 homes that were platted. It was meant to be a single-family residential area. And the nice things about that, and the reason why I bought the property specifically over several others, was the deed restrictions that were in the area. Those were documented, they were filed with the county, and they are tied. And they also did not expire. They are automatically renewed. And so they are in existence, and anybody that wants to go review it can, because they're out there. And they specifically talked about several of these particular issues. So I would recommend that people go revisit that because a lot of the things that we liked about it, whether it was restrictions on the roof color or it was restrictions on equipment out in the yard associated with other businesses or things like that that aren't supposed to be in there. RVs, which I have one that's supposed to be behind the corner of the lot of the house. Several people have that. They honor it. They abide by it, which is great. But most of all, it's a family environment. Everybody knows each other. We got lots of kids. We're on the second and third turnover of those houses and love the families that are there. We want to keep it that way. Adding an element of like this, even though I understand the bed and breakfast and the business aspects of that, that's great. Put it in another area that doesn't have the deed restrictions that keep it the family environment that we bought. I paid money for that lot, and it was important to me because of the restrictions, and I want to keep it that way. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Seeing no one approach the podium, is there anyone online? Oh.
Sorry.
I'll make this pretty quick. Brian Linewetter, live at 9853 Baroque. I just follow up, so live in Cherris Oaks and obviously was involved in reviewing the application. So I'm a engineer by trade and spend a lot of time with codes and reviewing codes and applications of those. I just think one thing that was very apparent when reviewing this is there's no real code definition as it's currently written for VRBOs. Bed and breakfast is pretty clearly defined that the resident or the owner occupies and resides at that the house that's being rented out, which clearly is different than what a VRBO is. So currently how the code's written, a VRBO is basically a motel, which I think, as you know, as previously said, I think there are regulations. This will probably be more common moving forward. And it's just important that we investigate the codes and get it clear that for future occupancies, how those are defined and how they're used. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, there's nobody online wishing to
Yes.
comment on this issue.
Going once, twice. I will close the call to the public.
Chairman, do you mind if I just give a little additional information about the withdrawal of the use permit?
Sure.
Okay, just a couple minutes. There was some question, now that it's been withdrawn, now what? Of course, this does not go forward now to the city council in May. It will not proceed. The application is essentially dead. So if the applicant wants to wait until we have some other regulations in place that allow this, that would be a new application requiring new hearings and kind of a redo of the entire notification effort. So if anybody's unclear about that. So this issue currently is dead. A new application would have to be submitted sometime in the future.
Thanks, Mike.
That's it. Yeah.
You have a follow-up question that you can talk about with Mike?
We just want to make one statement about what's down in the deed agreement from original. It
I-
does say it changes, only can change if you have 50% or more of the homeowners vote on it.
Thank you. So just because you offered that, I'll offer something on the deed restriction issue. That is a very valid issue, and whatever the city does here is not going to void your deed restrictions. So to the extent that you all have deed restrictions that would apply to this, whatever the city does isn't going to trump that. So you probably ought to have counsel, you ought to have somebody take a look at that and decide what your rights are in terms of enforcing your deed restrictions. If you're anything like my subdivision over in Oak Country, we have lovely deed restrictions and absolutely no way to enforce them. So I don't know what Don gave you, but you probably ought to talk to a lawyer about that. Okay?
Sorry, I have a follow-up question for Mike on that
Oh,
point.
Go ahead.
With you saying it's been dead in the water, I guess, who do we reach out to at city if we find that? I mean, I know there's some unauthorized short-term rentals happening throughout the city. Who do we reach out to if this applicant actually proceeds with doing short-term rentals without a license?
Yeah, well, certainly, there's an online complaint form,
Okay.
certainly issues concerns, that's a good way. Just call up City Hall, Edgar will, as the city clerk, would be the point of contact. He'll either contact codes enforcement probably,
Okay.
so it'd be in that building inspections department. So we would treat that like a code compliance issue, either a zoning nonconformance or a code issue.
Okay, great, thank you
Sure.
for that clarification.
That call to the public as well as post comments are closed. Moving to item 5B then. Consider rezoning at the northwest corner of Lexington and 95th Street. And Linda, the show is yours.
All right. Do we want to go ahead and have the public hearing now? Brad, do you want to go ahead, or do we?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do the staff report, and
Okay.
then you can open up the public hearing.
Okay.
I guess need to have the record show that Chairman Templin has left the meeting. All right, 5B is a public hearing to consider rezoning from R1 residential, low density, and RA rural ag to C2 business general. This property is located at the corner of 95th and Lexington. It's certainly on a major improved highway access to K10. It's also shown on our land use plan, our future land use plan as commercial. So this is in compliance with everything that we've been trying to accomplish here in DeSoto and target commercial activity where it belongs. So I'll go through the application background briefly. 3.7 acres of R1 and 11.1s of RA. Both want to be, the applicant wants to have it changed to commercial development or business general in our definitions in our zoning category. So we did do the perfunctory notification letters to residents within 200 feet, also published a sign, and had a notice in the legal record for this public hearing. I have met with the applicant to discuss the rezoning, and as updated this memo, we did have a request, or Edgar had a request for a protest petition, but I've not heard anything back from the person that requested that. General requirements, it's zoned R1, which is low density residential, and then RA, rural ag, which promotes or is intended to promote agricultural activity. However, this site has been tree covered. It hasn't been used for agricultural activity for quite some time. And the business general includes retail trade, restaurants, professional service, healthcare, museums, travel accommodations, and the like. So you can see on the aerial photo, actually Mike, we'll back up a little bit where it's at located. You can see that the larger tract is all tree covered. There are some residential areas to the west of this location, large lot residential areas, but as we've talked about in our Southwest Growth Area Plan, this is an area that's being transitioned to a more intense use. Commercial activity certainly is that. Also, you can see the areas to the south is the DeSoto Self-Storage, Society and Sons of Construction, and also the City of DeSoto Public Works Shop. Then across the street is Betty's Trucking. So go through the character of the neighborhood. I talked about it just a little bit ago about the residential tract to the west. It is a changing area, especially now that sanitary sewer lines are available in the area. Current property is now, it's vacant and has been completely tree covered for quite some time. Talked a little bit already about the C2, what's allowed there. It's general business, retail, hotels, restaurants, retail sales, etc. The suitability of which the properties are restricted under its existing zoning. It's not been restricted. It still can be used for these activities. However, with the advent of the additional utility improvements in the area, its use has been targeted and been purchased by someone that is looking to create a more dense and upscale type of use for this property. Property's been vacant as zoned for quite some time, at least over the past 5 years. We've had a lot of interest, discussions, but no formal requests over the past 5 years. The extent which there is a need in the community for the allowed uses. One thing in our comp plan, we talk about the construction and development that increases the value of property is an economic benefit to the community, so there will be increased property tax and increased sales tax potentially with this change in rezoning. I talked about the utilities. There is sanitary sewer access available. City of DeSoto provides water. It has a water main along 95th Street. Access to electricity is already on site. We have talked, Joe and I have talked about the improvements that will be necessary for 95th Street, so they'll be, and Lexington Avenue potentially. So the condition of 95th Street, it's still a fairly rural country road. Even though we've recently overlaid it, it will need to be improved. Curbs, gutters, probably turn lanes, things like that. That'll be part of the traffic analysis moving forward. And of course, the site plan will be brought before the Planning Commission for traffic, for approval and study and approval potentially. How would the proposed zoning adversely affect the capacity of the street network? I just mentioned a traffic study would be necessary. We'll be evaluating all the items. Street lighting, probably a turn signal, traffic signal will be necessary at this location, but that will be all flushed out during the site plan review process. Environmental impacts, don't see any particularly negative items for Environmental impacts, stormwater. As we know, our policy is that all stormwater must be contained on site and can't increase the runoff just because it's being paved or having structures built on it. So stormwater detention, landscape buffering, lighting, traffic issues will all be addressed during the site plan itself. Economic impact on the community. As I mentioned, additional retail sales, property taxes are certainly beneficial for the city of DeSoto and is consistent with our goals in the comprehensive plan. The extent which the zoning may detrimentally affect nearby properties, certainly the residential tracts to the west would see impacts from that. But as we've talked about, the Southwest Growth Area Plan and 95th Street corridor is a transitioning area. So we will have some significant buffering and setbacks as best possible to protect the residential area that is to the west. Relative gain to the public health safety from a denial. Certainly, as I mentioned, there's concern by the surrounding residents, which are valid, but not unusual when you're rezoning vacant property to especially an intense use like commercial. However, this transition, once again, has been happening in DeSoto for the last 5 years. And once again, it's been in our comprehensive plan for over 20 years to have these areas transition from a rural ag or large lot residential to a commercial development. I'd mentioned earlier in the presentation the future land use map, which we've actually studied and recently readopted with some improvements, something that we've looked at, and this does show this area as a commercial development and some mixed uses in that site as well. So staff recommends approval to the Planning Commission, and of course you make a recommendation to the City Council that and they make the final decision. There is a suggested motion to approve for reasons stated in the staff report, or you disagree with the staff report and put in the motions that you believe are adequate for a denial of the rezoning. So with that, Vice Chair, I will stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brad. Anybody have any questions for Brad? Any issues of concern? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. So members of the public who wish to address the Planning Commission regarding the items on this specific topic are welcome to come forward, and we've got a 4-minute time limit. Please state your name.
Good evening. I'm Tyler Oliver with Colby Capital, and we're the developer of the project. And as Brad said, it's roughly 15 acres at the northwest corner of 95th and Lexington. And what we're proposing is a commercial development, which could include a convenience store, sit-down restaurants, quick service restaurants, hotels. And we think this will be the catalyst to open up, future development along K10. And through my neighborhood meeting that I had a month or so ago, I felt like, the neighbors were supportive of that. There's a little frustration with how long this has all taken with, the power lines and development and so forth. But I think everyone, as you can see, as you drive by there, most of the properties are for sale, and they do want, to move on and cash out. And again, I think this will be the catalyst to open up both sides of 95th Street. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do want to say thank you for having a neighborhood meeting. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. And I did it at the new fire station, which was fantastic. Beautiful.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Mr. Cisco.
I'm Richard Cisco, 345-675 West 95th Street, right across the street from this property. I am not objecting to the rezoning. I'm just objecting to, there's water flow that's, in my 40 years I've been there, the water through there has been over Lexington. If we have more building with more asphalt there, Lexington's gonna have to be tore up and a new whistle put underneath that road. Because with more asphalt, you got more water runoff. So if some of that ground is not gonna be able to be built on because of that property. And the access in and out of there is not gonna be real good. Especially, we've heard there's supposed to be a truck stop there, and we do not need more truck traffic invited to that area with all the rock trucks, the school buses, the white buses going to Panasonic, and all the hundreds and hundreds of cars that are on that road now that just continues to get worse all the time. So, but as far as rezoning, let it go. But it's just the fact that we've got to have some planning ahead of time with some of that before it's all done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing then. And we will, any other discussion from y'all? Do you have anything?
I would say Mr. Cisco's concerns are very valid, but I'm confident that the city standards will address those concerns, and I'm in support of this zoning at this location.
Thank you.
I agree with Commissioner Huggins' response on the site plan. Drainage and traffic will be handled during the site plan submittal. And this track has been on the future land use plan as commercial, so I'm supportive of recommending approval of the rezoning.
Okay. You good?
Kind of agree with these guys. I've seen the water that Mr. Cisco was talking about. It's been a long time, but I have seen the water going up through there. I'm not sure if any of that's in the floodplain that goes down through there because of the north side of it's pretty low elevation, but that would all have to be addressed if this goes through on site plans and all that. Plus there's, like it says here, there's gonna have to be a whole lot of work done on the intersection, 95th Street in general, so.
And I'm sure that staff will address all of
Yep.
those concerns. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I would move that we recommend approval to the city council for agenda item 5B as outlined by staff.
A second.
All right. Edgar, roll call, please.
Martin?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes,
Huggins?
Yes.
Milburn?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you. Edgar, would you go back? Yes, thank you.
Get Roger out of time now.
Get Roger out. Ready for old business.
Okay, so for all of you interested, KU is up 10-0 on women's softball for Wichita State and just putting hurt on them. Item 7A, B, and C, Brad, I didn't mean to throw you a curveball, but I do kind of think maybe that's the logical way to attack this.
Yeah, and you're correct in your assessment, Chairman, that this really is one campus situation.
If I could, maybe just for the benefit of everyone in the room, this item is not a public hearing item, so there will not be an opportunity for members of the public to address the Planning Commission in connection with the review of the site plan or with the final plat. So this is a matter before Planning Commission business. I know that some of you may very well have taken advantage of the opportunity to let some comments known beforehand, but what's before us tonight is a site plan and a final plat for a development. This doesn't have anything to do with tax incentives. This doesn't have anything to do with proper use of the property. This is, we now have a proposal before us, and so we're looking at it in the context of the site plan. So, a little background. Thanks, Brad, sorry.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Yes, you do have a site plan for data center. It's being proposed by BL Infrastructure, and also in conjunction with that, a site plan for from Evergy, which is a substation adjacent to the Beal Infrastructure Project. As you recall, we brought this up to the Planning Commission last month, and Planning Commission tabled the site plan for the Evergy because you wanted to see the whole picture, and certainly that seemed appropriate at that time. So now you do have everything to look at. There was a lot of back and forth that staff has met with the applicant with several meetings, a lot of Zoom calls, also sent summarized meeting notes. One thing that Patrick sent was the memo about site plan regulates the structure in the specific area, but not the underlying uses. So that is really part of the zoning code. So we're really looking at the structures, landscaping, lighting, all those things that we typically look at, access points, fire safety, utilities, things like that. So that's kind of where my effort has been looking at over this past couple of months. And I also understand it's a little bit challenging for planning commissioners because, you know, Mike and Joe and myself and Patrick and Cameron, we've all been looking at this for a couple months now, and you've had a weekend to review the packet and try to absorb a lot of information that is surrounding this project. But I'll go ahead and do a brief summary of the project itself, then talk a little bit about the architectural standards that I went through and looked at and why my recommendations are and the conditions that I put in the staff report are. And then I'll talk a little bit about the Evergy substation as well. That's, even though it's a site plan, that's really the only permit that the city would issue is a fence permit for that one, since equipment is not considered a structure. So the only thing, a couple of things we might have is landscaping, the quality, the type of design of the fence, the height, and then also we do have a height restriction on items in the M1 district of 100 feet. And just briefly, the 100-foot level is safe, so they're not going to be above 100 feet tall with any of their items. Anyway, starting with the site plan itself for the data center, there's two buildings. The north building, building 1, is 6.9 acres, 300,000 square feet. So these are some large structures. But one thing we talked about when the Flint building went in was this was going to be large warehousing items. We weren't envisioning data centers, but at the end of the day, they really are just big box buildings, no different than a warehouse itself. So we have to have that sort of same context, even though it's a data center, it's using electricity, it's using a lot more city water than we would typically see with a warehouse. It's still the use and the size and the proportion of the building itself is similar to what has been constructed out at that location. Building 2 is 863,000 square feet, and it's almost 20 acres of building itself. It will have, and this area will have associated parking. There's 2 private substations. One is the Evergy, and then there'll be an adjacent one to that. So they're really almost one because they will have a common gate that'll allow those substations to be accessed from either one. And then there's a proposed future one to the north of the site. But the things that we're talking about that are required for the substations that are going to be built initially are the same criteria is going to be applied to those. So they'll have to have a decorative wall, they'll have to have an ornamental gate, they'll have 9-foot fence. Those type of things are still going to apply to the potential future substation itself. Talk about parking spaces. There's 150 of them on the site plan, 6 of them which are accessible, or handicap accessible parking. Did want to note that they need to designate van accessible stalls as well. There's 3 loading docks on building 2. They did submit a fairly significant landscape plan. That was one of the concerns at the previous Plan Commission meeting with the Evergy substation was there wasn't enough landscaping, or there wasn't any shown because the Evergy plan does not buffer K-10 highway. In our zoning regulations, we do have a 30-foot landscape buffer that is required for projects along K-10 highway, and they have certainly used this buffering strip to include a fair amount of trees, but also there are significant trees. They're large deciduous trees. There's several also evergreens and trees that have their leaves essentially year-round. So they've met that requirement for the landscape elements. Photometric plan has also been submitted, and it does meet our requirements. Traffic study has been submitted as well. There's not going to be a significant increase in traffic, as you know. Also, now I keep calling this area 103rd Street. It's actually Energy Way at this point, but that road has been greatly improved to carry any kind of traffic loads that will be happening on this site itself. We've also requested stormwater management issues to review those from the original Flint plan to the plans that have now been submitted before Planning Commission for review. And Joe has reviewed both the traffic study and the stormwater management program supplied comments, which have been addressed by the applicant. Talk about utility improvements. There's electric, stormwater, sanitary sewer, and water. Now, the water is City of DeSoto, but we're working with Water 7 on a cooperative agreement, so that actually has been resolved. Sanitary sewer is available and on-site. There won't be any public improvements on-site itself, because once it leaves our right-of-way, all the sanitary sewer is going to be privately maintained. The lift stations, anything associated with that is not for us to deal with. And even the road network, parking areas, as soon as you enter the site, that is not city-owned, or we won't be maintaining any of that. It's all going to be privately operated and maintained. Also, will serve letters were provided by Evergy and Water 7, and DeSoto, City of DeSoto will provide sanitary sewer service. One thing also, because of the improvements to Lexington Avenue, sidewalks are already in place. Edgerton Road, Sunflower has also been improved, and it has sidewalks on it, so there's no requirement for sidewalks on this project. As far as the architectural standards, this is one of the things that Chairman Templin asked me to talk a little bit more in detail. And one thing about our architectural standards is we've changed those to be more interpretive, and I guess there's positives and positives and detriments to that, but by allowing a little bit more flexibility, not having, it's got to be this much glass, this much brick, this much stone, it does give the design professionals some flexibility. But I think when you think about our regulations, while they are open to interpretation, it's more outcome-based. We want to make sure the outcome of the building is a consistent design structure that is consistent with the area. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, this area is designed to be large box warehousing, or in this case, a large box data center. So it is consistent with what we've been talking about in the Southwest Growth Area Plan, and then also before that, previous comprehensive plans as well. So overall, the spirit and intent of the site plan in staff's opinion has been met. There are some notable exceptions, which I did highlight in red, as far as some of the elevations need some additional work, especially on the south side of Building 2, which is the one that primarily fronts Energy Way. It needs to have some more variations on the roof line, or actually with the screening. That does hide the the air conditioning units and some of the elements that will help heat cool the building. And then also there is a screen wall in front, because there's actually the meters themselves, the electric meters are on the lower part of the building, and there's a screen wall that's been proposed there. We don't have any details on that screen wall, so we'll need to see some improvements with that, or more information on that as well. I'd mentioned the landscaping. That's something that we have gone over quite a bit, and I feel confident that it does meet our requirements. And they did do the trouble of, and I did even look at the tree species and all those types of things, and they are longevity type trees. They won't be something hopefully that will die off quickly, and we need to also make sure that as part of our codes that we do maintain those, because it is important to have those trees survive and help screen the building itself. Signage has not been proposed on any of this building, but typically that's submitted with the building plans, so that comes through the building officials' review. Sometimes they put that in our site plans, but in this case, they did not. Easements and lot lines, the plan shows, and this is where we get into the final plat, there is no additional right-of-way being dedicated to the city since that was all taken care of when Energy Way was improved. K10 certainly has their large right-of-way behind the structure itself, and so there isn't any easements or right-of-way dedications to the city on this. There will, and Joe and I talked about this and asked for some cross-access easements because they are parceling up the property into different tracts. And in theory, when you do that, you've got properties that could be sold to different individuals, and they've indicated that they, if needed, they will do that by a separate instrument and file those types of access easements with the county. As far as the items in red that I wanted to talk to you about that they don't meet the elevation was really the primary, the south elevation along Energy Way. Does need to have more glass and paneling, some equivalents, a little bit more variation of the indentations, if you will, on the building, more shadow lines, things like that that provide some visual interest. Because this does, the 15% glass is one of the few things that we do have in there that is a hard number. And just very quickly looking at it, it does not meet the 15% glass along that south elevation. So that will need to be upgraded. And that's really not something that staff or planning commission can vary. That's a number that's in the code, and that does need to be met. We do have that 100-foot length of facade for articulation type issues. And they've done a good job of changing that with the screen wall, which is the one we still need some details on. The screens themselves up above that screen the air conditioning units, we do want some additional height to vary that as well, so it isn't such a long straight row across the top. But otherwise, feel confident or that it does meet that. And so those are the items that I've flagged as well. So with that, I will stand for any questions that you might have. The applicant did suggest that their architect be available tonight to answer any specific questions. So, Chairman, if you feel so inclined, or the commission feels so inclined, that's available for.
Before we get to the detail of that, at least in my mind, I'd kind of like to talk about the plat, because how the plat fits with this, haven't seen it match up. So maybe we could
Okay.
if you guys think that's right, let's talk about the plat, because I want to see how those two work together.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, and I will say, we did have some discussions, a fair amount of discussions on this as well, because you can see the one tract, I guess, in the lower left, which will be the Evergy substation. Initially, Evergy was going to own that property and it's going to be sold, and they're going to do a separate plat. But we did talk to the applicant and say, well, you really ought to include this all in one tract, even though that piece is going to be sold off. And we did also talk about having just one other tract for the other portions of the property, since it is essentially a campus, as we've talked about. But the applicant felt it was important to maintain that ability to have separate lots for the separate uses that will be happening in the site itself. Now, one thing you probably noted is there are flag lots on this, and typically we frown upon flag lots. However, when you look at our code in the M1, it says it's subject to site plan approval. So in essence, in residential areas, especially some of these large lot ones, you have to have the appropriate amount of frontage. You can't just have 30-foot little flag or poles, I guess, if you will, out to the flag. So, but in here, because it's just subject to site plan approval, that is an allowable way to divide up the property. And that's what they've chose to do. So Lot 3 is Building 1, Lot 4 is Building 2. Lot 2 is the private substation which adjoins the Evergy one, and then the rest of the tracks are future development. Now, one thing also in Tract A, we'll have the temporary construction trailers that are shown on the site plan. But those are, we talked about this on the Merck project, those will be there during construction and removed, and part of the process, and there are notes on the site plan itself that the property will be restored to its previous condition, which is basically a grass field at this point when the trailers and construction is complete.
So just for my benefit, just because I'm perhaps geometrically challenged. So lot 1 on the plat,
That's the Evergy station.
that's the utility substation there.
Yes, that Evergy
So
will.
it looks to me like the utility substation on the site plan is considerably longer fronting 103rd than that is. I don't know if it's just because of the way that they got drawn, but it seems a little weird.
It's decently close to matching up. I couldn't swear to
Okay,
precise.
and if you guys are good with it, I'm good with it. It just was like, as I was looking at that, I was
So the
like,
lot obviously extends out to the road, so it's a little deeper north to south than just the utility station shown here.
I get that.
I'm trying to toggle between the two, the site plan.
Just thinking from the left edge, whether that's correct.
Yeah.
You're good, then I'm good, but
I think I'm,
okay.
for sure.
And then lot 2 is the private substation.
Correct.
So that'll fit within that lot.
Yeah,
And then lot 3 is building 1 and lot 4 is building 2.
that's right. Yeah.
And the rest of it is essentially unplatted.
No, it's platted, it's just tracked. They have detention tracks.
Privacy.
Yeah.
So the eastern boundary of Tract A goes in the creek? Is that how that?
There's actually an A, B, and a C, and I don't quite remember offhand where those lines are, but you can see C is that very farther northern piece. Then there's a Tract A, and actually the Tract B, it took me a while to find. It is actually in front of Lot 4.
Yeah, it is.
So essentially, they're buying the rest of the Flint development.
Yes, I think they already have.
Okay.
Which previously was unplatted, right?
Correct.
So is the detention for the whole development in Tract A? So the existing building, does it go to Tract A as well?
That, where Mike's got the cursor, that looks like it'll
so
be there.
there's 4 detention tracks for this part of it. And I believe they're all in Tract A.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so will an access easement to that detention basin be needed for Flint? Or is that, if they need to get to that to maintain it or do some type of maintenance or anything in there?
Yeah, so, well, obviously, these are private detention facilities, all to be maintained by Beal.
Okay.
Flint would not necessarily have any obligation to maintain.
Okay.
And did you say how many square feet building 2 is? Did I miss that?
Yeah, it's building 2 is the big one. It is 863,000. Actually, I forgot I got it. It's almost 20 acres.
So flipping to the substation. So the substation's part of the greenery, part of what they're proposing to do with the Beal project pilot, includes buffering that's going to happen along the north and west of the substation.
Correct, yes. And then the south is part of Evergy's site plan.
Right, Evergy shows plantings along the southern edge,
Correct.
but along the western edge, the northern edge, that's part of the project pilot.
Correct.
Well, those, I guess are we asking questions or we still talking flat?
Oh, I'm just trying to make this confusing as possible.
So while we're on the landscaping, are those trees gonna be planted on the ground that's at K-10 level or at the proposed grade that's out there right now, the higher elevation, because dirt's been, it's like 10 foot higher? Are those trees gonna be planted at that elevation or down at the K-10 level? If that makes sense.
Good point.
'Cause, I mean, those are.
Well, I'd have to look at the grading plan, but obviously the grades will be established before the landscaping goes
Some of
in.
these would be at the foot of the slope.
Yeah, there's a slope
Some would
there
be
right
up
now.
on the slope.
Mhm.
Yeah, the grading, obviously, the grading substation pad comes up.
Right. But no, I'm not talking on that pad. There's a pad out there right now.
Yeah, let's look at the.
I just kind of get an elevation. I mean, some of those trees are pretty large, and it'd be very helpful if those would be on the grade that's out there right now, because there is dirt moved out there today.
I'm trying to find the grading plan. Of course, it's not this.
I didn't see a plan that related to landscape. With
Yeah,
the
I'm sure the
grading.
landscaping isn't shown on the grading plan. I'm 100% sure of that. But I'd like to find the grading plan so we can talk about where it exists today.
Should be the third page after the cover sheet, Mike.
Okay.
I just saw it. Oh, pardon me, the second is the existing conditions.
Here it is.
So like those dash grades out there along K-10. I mean, if they're planted, if those trees are planted on top of that grade that's there today, that would definitely benefit the screening because they're up higher relative to K-10. I just didn't know if they were going to be at that elevation or at the lower grade.
I think some at higher and some at lower, according to this.
Well, it has to do with how effective the screening is. It's a reasonable question.
Sure.
I mean, they got some nice trees that are going to grow pretty large, and if we could take advantage of the terrain, it'd really help.
So here's the grading on the substation. And more or less, they're not doing any grading within, I mean, all their grading is more or less within 50 feet of their fence. You can see the proposed grading lines matching up with existing grade lines here.
Hmm.
That.
Yeah, I just spoke with John Michael Handley, who's the applicant's representative for this project we've been working with, and he said that, I mean, that what Mike's referring to is that they won't be messing with that or grading that far close to the K-10 right away, so the 30-foot landscape buffer will remain essentially intact where those trees are.
Where the,
Or
where
the
the- where
grades
the grade
are.
is now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'll be below the deck of K-10.
Certainly below K-10. Yeah, certainly below K-10.
I guess maybe if you can just pull up a street view, you can see what I'm talking about the grade that's already there.
Yeah. Let's see that. There are some perspective views on the architectural plans, but I don't think there's any landscaping on those view shed views. So do you want to highway?
Yeah, just up where the K-10.
Yeah. So you're on the overpass.
Yeah, if you just go east a
There's
little bit.
Evening Star.
Yeah, if you keep going just a little bit farther, you'll see it.
Further east?
Mhm. Yeah, you can start to see the dirt right through there. Like some of that, I guess, that's where I was asking where, if they're gonna be putting more dirt out there to elevate the trees.
Oh, this is gonna be really old. No, that's not helpful. Yeah, sorry, it's just, views aren't too helpful, you're not gonna be able to see much.
Okay.
But as we talked last time, just looking at the substation plans, you know, basically you're at the existing grade on the east end, and then on the west end, they're filling,
Mhm.
what did we say, 8 or 9 feet? It's 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 12 feet at the most in here. So I think if we look at the landscaping plan, I think the concern is that some of these that are up along,
Mhm.
especially up in here, are in a low area and would be better off up in here, right?
Yeah, up in
Or the
there,
fence,
or unfortunately put more dirt there, or elevate it.
Yeah. It's questionable how valuable that screening's ever gonna be. It's gonna get tall enough.
I think it'll be good. I think it'll be valuable from the Evening Star Road, you know, from here, from that perspective, because you're low. But up on the highway, it's gonna be it's hard to make that effective.
Yeah.
So, but you know, maybe some of this stuff along the highway itself, specifically this stuff along that north line, could be better suited further in toward the substation.
I guess I remember now, Commissioner, that when we did the Flint building, your concern was as you drive in on Sunflower, you're low in the steep embankment, but by the time you get to Energy Way, you're above the building. So it's kind of hard to balance that screening, so you are actually getting the most effective screening possible, and that's just
And
due to the grade
I'm not trying
changes.
to say you're gonna screen the whole building, I mean, what it is, but they're spending a lot of money on landscaping, let's take advantage of what we can.
That's a great. Maybe on the point of the view shed from the highway. So I was interested that the north facing side of building 1, it's gonna be pretty clearly visible from the highway.
Building 1, yes.
So your comments didn't really talk about that elevation. I mean, I know we have requirements of within the M1 that faces our public right-of-way and that sort of thing, but this is a highway, it's maybe a little different, but still by that same token, I'm curious as to whether this additional thought ought to be given to what it's gonna look like from the highway.
Yeah, once again, I've been looking at this for a while, but I thought, and I'm just recalling from memory, the north side of Building 1 did have some glass and some things on it. Now, the north side of Building 2, actually, in all transparency, it does not meet our requirements, but it's completely shielded from any kind of public view.
So here's the north side of building 1. That's this. Of course, we have to find it each time we zoom in.
Get you a better computer.
Yes. So this is the architecture of the north side of Building 1. And I think what Brad said is that this, in our opinion, meets every prescriptive and subjective letter and intent of the zoning regs, of the site plan development regs. This is a very nice looking commercial building from this perspective.
Okay.
Glass, architectural elevation, undulations, color variation, material variation. That's a nice facade.
But the north side of building 1's away from the street and actually kind of blocked by building 2.
Well, building 1 is a smaller one on the north side.
Oh.
So you could be, it's K10.
The north side of building 2 is blocked by building 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least part of it.
So if you look at these perspective views, maybe it could help. I'm just gonna, so there's perspective view from exactly, from K10, so number 3 here, which would be this one. Oops. Of course, we're gonna have to find it again. That's essentially from the highway looking toward that north side of the building.
Hey, Mike, you want to try to pull up that flash drive that John got you?
Sure.
It's a little bit better quality.
Okay.
While he's doing that, maybe shifting gears a little bit. So I know that when Evergy presented before, we talked a little bit about why this substation is there, and I believe that the statement was it's literally there because of this project. And it's not part of their overall utility needs, but it's to service this particular customer. I may be misstating that, but that's what I heard. But assuming that's the case, I am curious as to why that is featured so prominently on the edge of this edge of this campus, as opposed to internal within the campus. Was there any discussion about why it's located where it is?
Well, our initial discussions were basically, I mean, that's where the site plan showed it, and then also that was a preferred location based on what the applicant has told us. And then also the picture of it's allowed in the M1 district, so we've got substations that we've approved and felt confident that we could manage that with our landscaping, buffering, and access points and all those things as well. Well, we felt we got a fairly good, I guess, recommendation or concession, if you will, on the 9-foot stamped concrete decorative wall that's going to go around this thing as well. So I guess all those things in play, staff never really pushed back on that location for the substation itself.
I was just curious as to whether there was any discussion about it being
Yes.
in place outside of the front.
Yeah, we did talk about it, obviously, yeah, but that's kind of where it ended up after a lot of these types of, I mean, like I said, we've been talking to them over about 2 months now about all these issues that you're raising, Chairman.
You said there were some architecturals on this.
I think around slide 22, if I got my numbers right. Those were in the submission.
Oh, sorry.
It's in the submission.
So that's the north side of building 1.
That's right.
Sound study.
It'll be in our appendix.
Oh. Just tell me when this stuff.
Those three are about what we have.
These what you had in mind you wanted to show? Okay.
So those are same as what plans you were showing earlier, just with some of the vegetation included instead of
Oh, I
massing.
see. Yeah. Okay.
I think it's number three is we wanted, Mike.
Yeah.
You can zoom in on, I don't know if, without getting bumped to another.
Resolution gets a little dodgy, any too far in. Okay.
So, Brad, you've been mentioning revisions to the screen wall. I guess it'd be on the bigger building. Have you seen those, or have you been working with the applicant on updates to those elevations, or?
Well, I guess our comment was there needs to be variations in the height, and that's something that has not been submitted. That's why it's a condition of potential approval, that they resubmit those. And I guess essentially for staff approval, that shows that they met that requirement that the planning commission ultimately set. If you choose to adopt that condition.
And then you might have mentioned it, but all the utility improvements are paid by the applicant. They're all private.
Everything interior, yeah, it's all private utilities. Yeah.
Are there any offsite stuff?
We have there's a development agreement that lays out significant public infrastructure improvements that are gonna be required to meet the service demands of the project. Those are all fully funded by the developer, mostly water and sewer infrastructure.
Brad, the site plan says there's 150 parking spots.
Correct.
I don't really see a parking lot. Are those just spread out around the buildings, or?
Yeah, they are, and they're really, yes, they're spread out around the buildings. They're on the entrance, two entrance points primarily. And they're kind of interwoven, as you can see there, with the access points.
So there's up here along the building, here along the building, and is there parking in here, or are they all here? Oh, there's some on the east side of the building.
And how many employees will be on the site?
Might be a question for the applicant,
Yeah.
for sure.
Chairman and members of the Planning Commission, appreciate your time. John Michael Hanley, applicant with the developer Beal Infrastructure, 14422 West 86 Terrace, Lenexa, Kansas. The parking, your question was about number of employees. At full build out for both phases, we're looking at somewhere between about 200 and 300 employees. Number could fluctuate, but that's generally the magnitude that we're looking for. Those 150 parking spaces too, so those 200 to 300 employees at full build out would be in shift work, and so there wouldn't need to be 200 to 300 spaces, there would need to be somewhere north of 100.
And I saw a slide with the noise study. Go to that.
Absolutely. So when we went through and did noise modeling, you're going to see on the left side with full operations without generators running. On the right side, you're going to see emergency generator operations. Those emergency generator operations are exempted from code typically, and in this case they are as well. But we're showing both of these because we're meeting DeSoto's code limits for sound spillage onto neighboring properties. We don't exceed 50 decibels at any of the residential properties. We don't exceed 60 at any of the surrounding commercial properties, and we don't exceed 75 at really any location.
When you say it doesn't exceed, is that spike noise or is that a constant 50 decibels?
I would need to check with our acoustic engineers. It meets the spirit and letter of the code.
Question.
We might be able to get input from our civil engineer if Brianna is online. But she also may not know the answer to that, so it's worth seeing.
I'll need to unmute her. Hold on. She did, sorry. I'm sorry, Brianna, if you can hear us, I think you're unmuted now. No? Lauren's on here too.
I can at least speak to, Brianna says it's not letting her talk, so we might be having some technical issues. Is she able, are we able to message in?
Let me make her a panelist here. Let's try this.
Awesome. While we're working on that, it looks like those noise limits for sound measured more than 5 times per minute or more than 15 seconds at the property line.
Brianna, are you able to unmute now?
Give me that data again you gave me. What did you say?
Most recently, I said the noise limits are for sound measured more than 5 times per minute or for more than 15 seconds at the property line. That, I think, is city code and how we probably set up this acoustic modeling study. And those code limitations that we're meeting are 50 decibels at residential, so lower than a face-to-face conversation, 60 decibels for any of the commercial properties, and then less than 75 for any of the industrial.
Thank you. I'm just very sensitive to this because we just went through talking about this with concrete plants. So we've kind of been down this path, and there's a difference between the loud bang every once in a while versus a constant hum.
Understood.
Okay.
Well, the generators don't run constantly.
Right. So the right model output that showed some of those higher values, that is, like I said, an emergency situation. We wouldn't expect that, and it is theoretically exempt from city code. However, we're still meeting those city code restrictions even during emergency operations.
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh,
we can.
Now, Brianna, yes.
Hi, sorry about that. Could we repeat the question just so? Because I did have to restart my browser, so I apologize.
Sure. Yeah, generally, the question was on the noise study. We talked about being below decibel threshold. The question was, is that an instantaneous decibel reading, or is that a sustained noise level on those settings?
No, it would not be a sustained noise level. Normally when modeling acoustics, it's normally based on operation times and throughout the day, so it's more it's more based on, I guess, like the number of employees are there, or like not a long sustained time. It's at peak times, but it wouldn't necessarily be instantaneous, nor would it be a long period of time, if that makes sense.
While you're here, is there a reason why we're putting the substation at that particular location? What was the thinking behind it?
Absolutely, yeah. And if I miss anything, if it's okay, we have folks from Evergy here to address that as well. But at its core, part of the reason for putting the substation where it was to minimize any new transmission infrastructure. If we move that further into the site, we're adding transmission infrastructure further into the site. off of Energy Way. Additionally, with its proximity to the rest of that development, it reduces the impact for any of the surrounding residents, and then from getting transmission lines any closer to 95th or to further along K10. So the intent was to minimize new transmission infrastructure and the visual impacts from that, increase the safety so that there is access off of Energy Way that they don't have to go through a secure access point for. And then going off of that, the project substation immediately to the north of the utility substation is located there to minimize the amount of overhead lines from the Evergy utility substation to ours, so that we can handle as much of that electrical infrastructure underground from our substation.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Revisiting, if I may, the earlier conversation about the landscaping. So all of those to the west and along K10 are essentially at or outside the limits of disturbance. And so those are currently shown as basically wherever the grade is today. That is something that if it makes sense to basically take another of that string on that western corner and fill that in closer, that's something that we can duplicate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Brad or the applicant right now, or should we begin discussion? What's your pleasure?
Just a comment on the city's noise regulations. We don't have an exemption for we do for emergency vehicles, but not for running generators. I think that was mentioned. But,
And you agree with the analysis that our sound ordinance doesn't really distinguish between sustained noise and the occasional elevated noise?
True. Does not.
Okay. Well, I'll start if nobody else wants to. I think the applicant has done a great job of trying to make this building, these very, very large buildings, attractive. And I applaud you for those efforts, and I applaud staff for working with you to try to do that. That said, this is going to be very, very visible, not only from the highway, but from 103rd or Energy Way or whatever we want to call it. And because of that, I think that we need to be very diligent about what we're doing with screening, what we're doing with the elevations, what we're doing with how these things are going to appear as part of a site plan. I would also suggest that because the substation is part of this campus and it's designed to serve this campus, that putting it in Evergy's ballpark and saying, oh, this is just a regular substation is a disservice to the community, because I think this is actually electronic and mechanical equipment that is adjacent to a building, which otherwise we would require 100% screening from the road. And the fact that the applicant has chosen to put this on the doorstep of our community that's right off of what will be undoubtedly a busy intersection at some point, that we're going to have that sort of visual impact, to me makes it not workable. I don't like that. Now, maybe we can do enough with screening so that we don't end up having a giant substation be the gateway to our town, but the way that this looks to me, this doesn't seem like the right plan for that. So I'm open to any suggestions on what we can do to address that. I know that I shared that with Evergy last time they were here too, is that the location of this is troubling to me, and I'm still troubled by it. If there's no other way to do it, fine, I understand that. By that same token, I think that we should treat it in accordance with our regulations with anybody else who would build in an M1, that all electrical and mechanical equipment located adjacent to the building and visible from any adjacent public thoroughfare be screened from view, 100% opacity. That's our rule. And I don't think that I'm going out on left field by saying, well, merely because Evergy's building it, it doesn't apply because Evergy's building it for this customer.
Can I provide a little bit of
Sure.
information? Okay. I knew you guys wanted to hear me talk.
Absolutely. We always love to hear you talk.
I know. I wasn't gonna do my presentation at least. So regarding the substation site, because it's electrical infrastructure, because it has transmission lines going to it, our ability to screen is limited no matter where it goes. I understand it being at the entrance and stuff is concerning. We can work, and I think we've agreed to work with Brad on some trees. Okay, some trees. And as much as possible. And on the west side where, you know, where the traffic is more, we can work on getting taller trees over there and working on the screening on that side. The part of the reason why it's where it is access is critical for our infrastructure. We have to be able to have 24/7, 365 access no matter what. You move it into the secured area, we have to work with security for maintenance and everything like that. So we can't guarantee our access on that side. So I completely understand it's concerning on where it's at. But if we move it in, we'll have more transmission lines. Trees and transmission lines don't get along. So I really think the screening might be even more difficult if we moved it in because it would limit what Beal can do on their property to help screen it on that side. So just a little context. I completely understand where you're coming from. We can work on the west side for some more trees to help screen there. We do have that wall. And we'll do what we can on the south outside of our corridor. So I just wanted to add that little bit to it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I also didn't tell you my name. Do I need to do that?
Please do.
Jessica Keck with Evergy, 818 South Kansas Avenue, Topeka, Kansas.
Of course we know who you are, but for the record.
So can you go back to that last slide that we were looking at? It was right there.
This one?
Yeah. So you can clearly see that dirt that I'm talking about in that aerial right there. You can see it's parallel with the K10 and then it jets back into the east and then goes north.
Oh, in here, yeah.
Yeah, so that's all dirt that's there today. That berms could be added, there can be grading done. I mean, the landscape plan that you guys presented is great. It has large evergreen trees, conifers, and then some pin oaks. I mean, it's a large project. We can make this work. We can do a better job.
Yeah,
I mean, not that you did a bad job, but we can improve with what you have. So I think, I mean, I hear Chairman's point, but we can improve with what we have presented with grading and berms and just elevate the trees to help with the screening.
May I address? Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, we're open to adding conditions for additional screening plantings, additional screening walls as necessary. I think the only thing that I would caution on that K10 side is that I think if we encounter their right-of-way, we probably aren't able to adjust grading at that area.
Right, but I guess, and I agree 100%, but where I'm getting at is the grading that's there right now on that aerial is outside of the right-of-way.
Should be.
Yeah, sure is.
Yeah.
I think additional screening, whether that's through landscaping or berming, is something that that's a condition that we can accept.
I have other things if we want to move on from that.
There you go. Yeah, go ahead.
So I do agree with staff with regard to the south elevation, and I'd encourage you to work with staff to address those concerns. As far as the north side goes, I'm okay with that. I mean, I think that the north side of Building 2, it would be nice to have something that's going to be the visible portion of that that's not covered by Building 1 would probably be valuable.
Okay.
But, you know, that's a matter of taste, I suppose, more than anything else. That's part of what we do here, so. And then, as far as the noise study issue, I am concerned about sustained noise and how that may be different than what we have. I also understand we work with the rules we have. So you're telling me that you comply with the rules, and I'm hearing from our lawyer that our rules are what the rules are. It's probably enough to make me want to complain about our rules, but that be the case, I do understand that. That's kind of what I've got.
I might flag as well, if I may. Full operations on the left. As I said before, we're still meeting those limitations and going below those. This full operations is, again, since this is an air-cooled facility for this phase, this is actually showing all of our chillers and HVAC running at once. So this is also slightly out of realistic day-to-day operations, and we're meeting or beating code requirements.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, were you saying you would exceed our levels with the generators running?
We would not. So we're exceeding the expectation, not the value, lower value.
I love that distinction.
So, I guess, I know what the noise in Allen Fieldhouse is, but what's the noise on K10? Do you have an idea what the actual highway is? So I can get a comparison on levels?
We would have done a background study, but I don't have that number off the top of my head. Most likely it is greater than that 50.
That'd be good. That'd be a good number to compare it
Yeah, it'd be nice to know that.
to. Good call.
I can, typical highway noise is 70 to 80 decibels, and I think yours came in at 50, so a little bit louder.
Yeah, over twice a lot.
Well, it depends on where you measure it from, I guess, right?
How many cars is going?
Right.
50 feet, 70 to 80 from 50 feet away is what
Yeah.
highway is, according to Google AI.
Right.
Very close.
Okay.
Correct.
So I do want to echo some of Roger's comments. I do appreciate staff's working with applicant and the applicant working with staff to get, to the point where we are today. Appreciate really all the work that staff has done on this report. I mean, it really has helped us. We only had 4 or 5 days to review this package, and this is a heck of a project, and to really kind of streamline stuff for us. So I want to say thanks for staff for working hard on that. The building is what it is. I think it's a large box building, and I think you've done a great job. I think it's a modern looking building. I like the looks of it. But I think we do need to, handle some of the screening and do what we can to put some berms in, elevate the landscaping so it is better screened from K10 and Evergy Way. And I understand Evergy's point. You got transmission lines, and I understand that. But if you can help us out on that, I think I'd be more comfortable with the landscape plan. The noise, from what everybody's AI is probably listening to what I'm saying right now. If that's where it's at, then I got a good reference to the sounds out there.
Yeah.
Other discussion?
Well, I know noise has been, the sound levels has been a real issue for every time I see someone talking about it, that's a real issue. And I think if you can show that it's not going to be a problem, then I think that was good. And the other issue, of course, is the water in this system setup is different than the old-fashioned ones, I understand. So I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. I just want to make sure that sound is, we're not going to hear about that later.
Understood.
I guess I would ask a question about the water use. Is the demand consistent, or are you going to have a increased demand for startup?
Specific to water, so this phase is going to be air-cooled, which means there would be an initial fill that we would coordinate either with Water 7 or the city of DeSoto. I think something shy of 50,000 gallons to start off with, but I am not the actual water engineer in charge of that. After that, once those cooling systems are full, they generally don't need recharged for the next 5, 10, 15 years. So these are true closed loop as opposed to closed loop augmented with other water.
Yeah, so the neighbors could experience some reduced pressures during the initial.
We're working very closely with Rule 7 and the applicant to make sure. Part of the development agreement calls for a significantly sized public water main to be extended to the property. And so we'll make sure that peak hourly, peak day, peak minute demands won't diminish system pressure. If anything, the neighbors once the infrastructure is in, will experience significantly better flow in water than they've ever thought possible out there. I don't feel bashful in saying that.
I could see it with a little care and attention. This could be done with no impact,
Right.
It's like when they fill water towers, they do whenever it's.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
That would be the intent, for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes, during construction of the systems, you'll have flushing, startup, things like that. We're just going through it with Panasonic. And yeah, you're right. They're coordinated. Let's do them at night. Let's do them on off the
Thank you.
City Manager Brungart, I got a message from our civil engineer, Brianna, that she had raised her hand, but I think the gist of the message is that detention pond most adjacent to K7, Evening Star, and Energy Way will basically have a berm. I'm not sure how visible that was in the grading plan.
So you're messaging with Brianna? She can't?
I think she raised...
I raised my hand, I just didn't want to be
Good.
rude and
Okay,
interrupt.
good. All right. Well, you're on.
Feel
So if
free.
you guys can hear me, we were talking about that northern area along K10 and talking about needing a berm there. So we want to revisit that area that we had. Yeah. So basically, yeah, keep going. You can just keep going.
Okay, sorry. Here?
No, that's okay, that's okay. Yeah, right there. So that pond to the north of there, that you see, the top, that pond. So, K10 right there is at 890, and the top of our berm of our pond is 899. So that is essentially a 9-foot berm that supports our pond. So there is essentially screening there from K10, as well as the other pond that you are seeing down there. There is also that area, the existing grade is at 895, and the top of our berm is around 906. So you're also looking at a 10-foot berm up there as well. So I use the ponds do create a natural berm, which also create a natural stream. So I just wanted to highlight that here for you guys.
I didn't ask, are these detention ponds, will there be water in them, or is it just for
No,
runoff?
they're simply detention ponds, they are not retention ponds.
Yeah, okay, so they're
Right.
just for runoff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Other comments? Discussion?
You guys have all come up with the questions I would have thought about, so. And a few I didn't, so.
Well, I have a recommendation, which would be that we table this to give them an opportunity to address these issues with staff that we've talked about.
If possible, we'd love to rather make it a condition that we continue to work with staff and you all on what's an acceptable confirmation of that berm, what's an acceptable additional amount of plantings to achieve the screening that you all are looking for. The conditions within the staff report, the approval with conditions, we're comfortable with all of those. And so it feels pretty easy for us to say, yes, we'll accept a condition for additional screening and to continue onward.
Appreciate the applicant's view. My view hasn't changed. I still think that this is the very different project than what we normally see. And I think we ought to have set before we approve it, and approving it with conditions makes me uncomfortable. That's me. Anybody else have a suggestion?
So you're saying all three items or
I
just?
do. I think it's a campus. They're all three together.
I might bring up some additional backup or one second. Yeah, so just to reiterate why we would prefer the condition. Obviously, we've had machinery out there moving dirt. We're on a pretty critical timeline, and so it would be really difficult to accept the 1 month delay from this planning commission to the next planning commission when it's something that we would diligently work on improving and addressing your concerns with staff and with city council moving forward.
So Brad, did you take note of everything that we wanted done?
Edgar did, no, yes, I did.
So if Edgar relays what our stipulation requests were, would that be sufficient?
It wouldn't be for me, just because I am extremely uncomfortable with the substation being as visible as it is and out there in front. And until you have an opportunity to kind of explain that and get your plan together so that we can address that issue, I'm a no. So if you want to take a vote, we can do that, but I would love to give you the chance to do it and prove me wrong. But right now, I'm seeing a giant substation on the curb of our city, and I don't like it. So to me, I think that's well within our regulations that says this is electrical and mechanical equipment adjacent to a building. You can talk about how this is actually Evergy stuff, but this is for you.
Can I just quiz the Evergy team? Will this only serve our site?
You add in there, you got it. Don't forget your name out.
Yeah, Kale Level, Speak Kansas. Evergy, obviously. No, the substation is designed to serve Beal, but additionally, we have space for existing or future improvements, expansion inside the fence to accommodate future utilities, industry, transformer space, anything that comes along.
And where would those serve other than this particular property?
Could be a 12 kV circuit that comes out and feeds the grid. Could be 34 kV. Could be more customers that come along in the future. Anything.
But as of now, that is not part of your plan.
That is what we have included inside of our footprint. The initial build out is to serve what is critical with space to build out for the future.
And the future use is for something outside of this property.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, that's news to me. Thank you.
I might just add something as well, and I'm not sure exactly what the power facility does, but in our International Building Code, we indicate that, and this is section 105.2, a permit shall not be required for the installation, alteration, or repair of generation, transmission, distribution, or metering, or equipment that is under the ownership and control of public service agencies by established right. So, and then of course our site plan approval that's for things you need a building permit for. So, just wonder if the whole concern is the power station, you know, the fact that they don't need a building permit. I know they need it for the fence, but just a little bit concerned that with that definition in the building code, that because I mean, it's a little surprising, but it seems like they just get a pass. I mean, I assume this facility would be for generation, transmission, distribution, or metering equipment.
You are correct, yes.
Can I help?
Sure.
Good evening. My name is Paul Kelly. I'm the senior project architect with HDR. I live at 440 North 61st Street in Omaha, Nebraska. What you're referring to in the code, being in Chapter 1, way at the beginning, they're trying to exclude the building official from having to review utilities like that. I mean, it's really more of a, there are other codes to dictate that. So the building code really isn't the right one to be looking at for that.
Well, but our
instance.
zoning, our site plan process is prefaced with buildings that need a building permit. So that my point I'm making is the site plan process is prefaced on whatever's the subject of the site plan is something that you need a building permit.
Oh, correct, yeah. And just like any other zoning ordinance, you know, the project needs to meet your statutes, you know, your requirements, you know, before any building code would be offered. So, no, I agree.
Yeah, so you're correct on we're exempt from IBC because we have critical infrastructure exemptions and all that fun stuff. The site plan technically should just be for the wall and the screening that goes along with it and not the infrastructure on the inside. That's why we don't show the actual infrastructure on the inside. It's a security thing. We don't get permits for it. So, yeah, it is the wall and the screening that goes along with it. Yeah, you're correct.
So if it was, I'm just asking, if it was delayed a month, I mean, are you guys out there moving dirt right now? I mean, you should be able to get a permit to move dirt.
That's correct. So we are out there moving dirt. I think we already have our land disturbance permit through the city, but we're wanting to move forward with some of our initial plan reviews on footings and foundations, things like that. And so we're on critical path, basically.
I'll add to that too. In addition, since we need a building permit for the wall, and we have to secure our substation site, we want to have the wall, or we need to have the wall at the latest by October. So getting the time frame in there to get the pad done and let it settle and all the fun stuff that goes along with it, and then get the wall in. That's why Evergy's on a time crunch. I think I tried to explain that last time. I don't know if I explained it well or not, but it's our timing to get the wall and get the materials ordered and then get the building permit that goes along with it too. So they're on a time crunch. We are as well to try to make it all work at the same time.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like you're gonna move that location, so that's not gonna happen, in my opinion. From what they're saying, they're not willing to move it.
I'd love to be convinced that it's not gonna be an albatross in the doorstep of this
I
community.
totally agree with you. I don't like that either, but, you know.
I don't know that I necessarily think we ought to just kick it to Brad to figure it out. I don't think that's right. But, you know, it's up to you guys.
What stipulations can we cause to have them to move that?
Chairman, if I just suggest an idea, I don't know how much baby splitting we can really do, but if the applicant might be comfortable, if the buffering and screening review comes back to the planning commission, rather than just being left with staff, I don't know if that'd give any, there'd probably be some apprehension on their side too, so it's just an idea. That's a stipulation you could make, bring that landscaping buffering plan back here rather than.
Yeah, Mike, and as you recall, I think, if memory serves, on the Panasonic, we did a staged approval with that and allowed the applicant for Panasonic to proceed with foundations,
Yeah.
footings, and start that process. And we had architectural review and then landscape review after that. So I don't know if that's, once again, gonna be hard to split all those hairs with the right words.
I think I kind of agree with Linda. I think the substation is where it's at, where it's at. And I agree. I mean, I wish it would have been laid out differently.
I'm just a no then. That's fine. I mean, if we don't want to do it, I'm just one vote. I mean,
But
you
then I
guys
guess
vote
if we did split it out and bring the landscaping and buffering and screening back next month, is that?
Can you make significant changes to, you think, do that? I know you've talked about where the trees can be and you can only have so many. So, I mean, realistically, how much can you hide this thing to make it more appealing as they're entering our city?
As far as what we could accomplish in the next month, if we were to hold back and come back with a refreshed landscaping and buffering plan, I assume we'd be able to look at more optimal locations for some of that landscaping. We'd be able to look at whether a berm is feasible given the right-of-way and the stormwater detention basins. I am not a landscape engineer, but I imagine we'd be able to come up with at least a couple of options or to really truth out that there's no additional screening possible. So I appreciate that idea, and I think we'd be very open to bringing back the landscaping and screening. Thank you.
So we have 3 items before us. We probably need to do separate votes on all of them. My recommendation is tabling. I understand there are reasons not to. So if anyone wants to make a motion, feel free. Probably first, if we're ready to do that, want to have some more discussion, we can do that too. But we have probably item 7A first, and then I would say item 7B, and then item 7C, so.
Mike, just to clarify, where you suggested approve with the condition that these items come back to the planning commission.
Yeah, approve the site plan.
Yeah.
With the staff recommendations on the architecture and an additional condition that the landscaping and buffering that addresses the substation area come back at the next council meeting. I'm sorry, planning commission meeting. That was my idea in general, yes.
That would address the substation and the site plan, landscape and
Yeah,
buffer.
since they're kind of two separate, oh, they put that condition on both of them?
Well,
I guess one more little thought before we move on to a vote. I'm a little bit concerned, more concerned after this discussion about the location of the substation being so close to the road and what Evergy would even allow for landscaping between the road and the wall. I'm wondering how much you're going to be able to do with that substation in the position it's in. And if the only way to get significant buffering from landscaping between the wall and the road is to shift the substation a little bit, then maybe we shouldn't be doing the approval of the site plan. Can you give me any comfort that we're gonna be able to put significant trees out there between the substation and the street?
The lines are coming south no matter what, right? Okay, so no matter where we put the substation, the transmission lines are gonna go south. So where there's transmission line corridors, there can't be trees. We can put trees that are outside this transmission line corridors, but no matter where you put that substation, our transmission line's coming south. So
I'll accept that.
Yeah.
That there will be some lines
Mhm.
out of the substation that
Right.
won't be fully landscaped. But I'm talking about a tree
in
that
between.
would be actually able to screen that facility between the street and the wall.
So we've had quite a bit of luck with some smaller shrubs to help break up the screening. I understand what you're saying, and this is where I'm going to hopefully compromise and not get yelled at by my team. Outside of our transmission line corridors on the south side, if we can put trees that are outside of our transmission line that's not going to interfere with it, we're willing to do that. In between where we have the transmission line, we can put the shorter bushes or some trees that I think get 10 feet or lower-ish, 10 to 15 feet inside our corridor, but they can't get taller than that. So yes, we can do some stuff to help break it up and then put stuff outside of where actually transmission line corridor is going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm more concerned with the type of tree that would have a drip line that could get to the wall. You know, a drip line on the tree.
You mean
The tree.
to cover, like to cover? So if you want a evergreen or something along that, you can't
I don't
have
think
any
an
shrub.
evergreen's gonna screen this facility. So if you have an oak, an elm, hackberry,
Those trees get fairly significant in height.
they do, and they have a pretty wide drip line. That's what I'm concerned about, that Evergy won't let a tree that'll truly screen the facility be put between the street.
It's probably safe to assume they won't.
Yeah.
Not an oak or anything like that, no. That can't go where it's gonna be. I mean, it'll be there and then it'll get trimmed up in 10 years.
That's kind of, well, that wouldn't be the end of the world.
But on the west side where there's not, correct, there's not lines on the west side,
Yeah.
which I understand is not along the road. There's probably not, I don't think there's lines on the east side as well. We can put trees there, and that will help. And along the front, we can put some bushes. You're not gonna hide a substation no matter where you put it, but we can make it more visually aesthetic and make it look better.
Yeah, screening doesn't always hide everything.
Right.
But a lot of times it detracts.
Right.
You got something to see there besides the substation. And that, if that were significant trees along the road, then I would be pretty happy with it. But if Evergy won't allow it in its current position, those types of trees, then I could see an option, not change this whole site, but maybe shift the thing 20 foot north, the substation. And in doing that, if that would allow for a few significant trees to be put in there, that would give you something else to look at besides the substation, I'd be comfortable with that.
Does this whole project depend on the substation? Do you have to have the
Yes.
substation?
Yes.
But I can see Evergy, you gotta take care of your facility, I understand that. So I'm curious if that has been taken into consideration. I'm not talking about shrubs or
Right.
evergreens.
But with the wall, with the wall being 9 foot tall, if you're driving by or if you're walking by, if you have trees, if you have some shrubs and some shorter trees, that's gonna break up the visual side of the substation. And honestly, putting our shrubs underneath our transmission line is something we don't normally do. So this is a big exception that we're willing to work with the city, because we understand what you're striving for. So we're trying to work with you to make it visually aesthetic and make it work with what's going on here. So that's what we can do. Even if we pushed it back 20 foot, you're still gonna have those corridors, and I don't see a tree being able to be planted, a tall tree like you're asking for, that's gonna work, even if you push it back 20 foot.
The corridors are that close together?
How many of them do we have, Cale, Mr. Cale? How many corridors do we have coming out of the south?
Ultimately,
3, and they're,
with room for more in the future.
so that's 300 foot? 300 foot corridors. So yeah, they're pretty substantial.
Those are gonna be going out to the south?
Yes, correct.
Because those aren't shown anywhere on this stuff.
So we-
don't see any of that.
That's,
I get it. So you have transmission lines down there
so
that go out of the south.
transmission lines are not regulated by the governing body. And if we show them on a site plan, and we're not final 100% on where the infrastructure is going on the inside of the sub, if we show our transmission line, it gets put into public record. And if it shifts and it moves and it looks different, it puts us in a spot that we don't ever want to be in. So.
So are you saying 300 foot for the 3 lines that you have planned now, or 300 foot per line?
for the lines planned now, total.
Total.
Yes, 100-foot corridors,
And that's all going out to the south.
correct.
But the stuff on the west, there's nothing on, that would be stopping us putting landscaping on the west side of the substation.
Correct. And that's why on the west, we'll make it as pretty as we can.
Okay, then my thoughts on the west are that the best way to have effective landscaping is to take the top of your fill and move it far enough west to allow the trees to be planted on top of that at the same elevation as the bottom of the wall.
And that's where coordination with Beal's gonna have to come into play, because it's outside of our easement, but, Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
wasn't asking you.
yeah.
That's,
Can I double check?
Yeah.
Just checking my understanding there. So on the west side, you want additional fill. This is on the west of the utility substation. You want fill to the same elevation for the outside of the bottom of the wall. Did I hear that right?
yeah, where the landscaping is planted.
Okay, I think I follow that. And I think that's something that we can work toward as long as the grading plans can make that work. I think, I apologize, I don't know which commissioner brought up having something, I think it was you, Commissioner Huggins, having something else to look at. Maybe not even just being about blocking things, but something else to look at. One of the things we could also look at, especially if we're breaking out the landscaping and screening and bringing it back, we could look at making one of those detention basins retention and putting some kind of fountain feature in it. Additionally, something that we've ideated but not really vetted is if there's enough space on that western portion, so west of the utility substation, potentially dedicating a space for the city to use for a future monument sign, give something for folks to latch onto instead of what's in the background.
I like both of those ideas because that is going to distract the eye. Good points. I mean, it's not perfect, but they're doing everything they can to work with this, and they're not going to move it, so we've got to make a bigger Band-Aid.
Or not approve it.
Or not, well,
Regardless of what trees they use, there's only so big of a tree that they can transplant.
right,
Oh, I get that.
And there's only so many feet it's gonna grow a year,
right.
so it's gonna be a while. Even if they come up with the ideal plan before this thing is fully screened.
But I mean, if they're not going to move it,
Huh?
if they're not going to move
Right.
it, we've got to do something.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, Cord Maxwell, Polsinelli Firm, representing Beal. Pleasure to be with you guys all again. One of the things that I would add to this discussion about sort of the point, and I think why we've all latched on to that component of coming back to work on just the berming and the other ideas that we've ideated that could help, is while this is the site plan process, we really have looked at both with the Flint project and this project that would have been the site for heavy utilities. And as part of, it's of course not part of this planning process, the quasi-judicial process we're in, but part of the development agreement process we went through, we actually had a site plan included in that of a very conceptual nature, but it was always where we showed the utilities to be in that corner. Part of the thinking that went in, not just with all these discussions we've had, and I absolutely understand the chairman's point that this is a gateway to the city, is this is also sort of the furthest point from the residential we were most thinking about when we started the Flint project. Basically, when you go across the street there that we start moving into residential, we've built 1 million square foot industrial building. We're talking about other significant architecturally impressive buildings. We are putting this on the corner. Our biggest neighbor will be Astra, that as that comes forward will have a industrial character as well. This is not going to be where neighbors are most likely to be, where there is going to be a residential. So I think all the things that Evergy has said and others have said are absolutely true. We're not going to be able to screen it, but we can come up ways for the driving public as they're looking at it that it still looks classy while still protecting our DeSoto residents that are further up to the north and the east in this process was another reason that we're looking to that component. So I absolutely understand the point, Mr. Chairman. I just thought I would offer that as another sort of planning process we've been through over the several years of why did it come to that area beyond all the safety reasons and others. But we're committed to working with this commission and this council in good faith as we have through all of this process. And I would also say, we're happy to come back in front of this commission to the berming and landscaping and ideating process. We are by no means done with the city of DeSoto. This has been an iterative process with you all for years on this site. We expect that will continue to happen. And so when we make these commitments that we want to work and make Brad happy and Mike happy and Patrick happy, but also the chairman happy, there's something behind that we've got a lot of more approvals to work through with you over the years and decades on this site. So,
Thanks, Mark.
thank you.
Do appreciate the context. My viewpoint is still the same. I'd like to see it before we approve it. If you guys want to approve it and have it come back, that's your vote. But for me, I'd like to see it together, and I'd like to see it, because I think this is a significant, it'll have a significant impact on how this is going to, what people see when they get to this town, and I think it's critical. But that's just me. So.
So do I understand you to say that you want to proceed with A and B and put the site plan to come back next month for our approval? Is that what I understand?
Well, my suggestion was to table it.
All of it?
Yeah, but I think that probably, my guess is that we could certainly take up the plat, because I don't think anybody has probably any objections to that. But I think the two site plans, to me, they're together. And I would table both of them until we had that addressed. I mean, the buffering and the screening is not part of Evergy's site plan, but it screens Evergy's site plan, so I mean, it's like they're all intertwined. And so, to me, I would like to see it in a way that I could face my neighbors when they're driving down K-10 and say, why did you approve that? I'd kind of like to be able to tell them why. But, you know, that's me.
So with it pulled out that way, you all can still go ahead and proceed with what you need to do until the next meeting? Would that be correct?
If pulled out, sorry, seeking clarification, if plat is pulled and still voted on tonight, plans come back in their entirety, or plans come back bifurcated as City Manager Brungart suggested?
I think you want council or planning commission approval.
My recommendation is to table the site plan until we have it comfortable. If we want to approve the site plan with conditions, that's your choice.
Okay, so if we go with that route and we approve it with conditions tonight, with the buffering or the berming and landscaping coming back, what do we have to hold these guys to if we don't like it in a month?
Certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
Okay.
We're real good at that. That's why I'm saying I think we should table. That's me.
But I think Mike, you were saying condition the approval, so you're essentially not approving until these conditions are. So
Well, I think essentially if you condition the landscaping buffering part, if you bifurcate that out, condition it, then they would have approval to build the buildings with the architecture where they are and the land and the grading and everything else associated. They would not have approval on the landscaping and buffering plans until they satisfy us, and that's before they get an occupancy permit. The question is, and I think what the chairman is advocating, and Mr. Huggins mentioned it to the degree as well, what if there's just no way to satisfy our buffering itch with this particular layout? That's the question. Staff's review of the overall site plan in general is that it meets the spirit and intent of our regulations as we read them, as we interpret them. The Planning Commission obviously doesn't have to agree with that, but in terms of the overall, so my concept was, there is an approval that gives them, by right, the ability to go and build this thing in its general mass and form and function, just like it is, while we work out details to put a bigger Band-Aid on, what is essentially the substation. As well as, let's don't forget the architectural stuff along the south side of that big building. So
But I guess where I was going, if we don't like what we see next month, what's gonna stop them from the final step? Is it getting that occupancy permit? No computers allowed to be turned on.
Yeah, it's getting that occupancy permit.
Okay.
But I think our review
Really
next
well
month.
for the VFW hall about 25 years ago. We did the same thing and they never did. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, your ability to say no next month would then be limited to just landscaping buffering, essentially.
I guess there would be another option we haven't discussed, and that's if schedule is paramount, we could recommend denial to the council, and then council could.
So to that, this is the body that approves. This doesn't go forward to the council. Right. There is a provision in the code where the applicant can appeal a decision of the planning commission to council. There's that provision. It's never happened. I don't know what the time frame for that would be. I don't know the conditions under which that appeal would have to be made.
well, I'm not trying to make things more difficult for anybody, but I do think that this is a big enough and an important enough project that we ought to have it approved in a condition that we're comfortable with, not the least of which is the screening and the buffering associated with the substation, and certainly all the other elements that we talked about, having the south elevation completed, and, you know, I think those are, you know, the north elevation is gonna be visible. Those are two things that I got out of the report. I think it's important enough for us to table, but it's up to you.
Well, I would generally be in support of Mike's suggestion of, you know, approving the site plan with approval of the landscaping and berming if we have some type of condition that they can't get their occupancy permit if we don't approve it.
Are you all good with that?
Beal would accept that as a condition to approval for sure.
Evergy would as well. That's all right. Gotcha. Of course, we don't need.
Well, I think knowing these conditions, then what we have asked for, I think they'll certainly strive to try to meet those. And I see what you're saying. I don't like it there either, but if it's got to go in for this thing and it's, I just don't know how to get around it other than try to make it as nice as we can. And with the, we could put a appearing, you said, for the city sign or something like that up there. And I know it's a Band-Aid, but I don't know what to do. If they've met all of our other requirements, I don't know how we can.
Well, I've argued to have it. But I'm one voice.
I get you.
So I'm gonna ask this question, if we make this recommendation and it gets denied, what happens?
Well, then I think the approval would fail,
Mhm.
and you could take up another motion.
Okay.
to-
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not making a motion to deny. I'm making a motion to table. But I haven't made a motion, and I don't intend to. So I'll let you guys decide what you want to do.
Make a motion, we approve the site plan as presented. Agenda item 7A, consider site plan for Bill Infrastructure per the staff conditions with the additional condition, they're gonna come back next month with a berming and landscape plan for planning commission approval prior to receiving a occupancy permit.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
And just to clarify, that would be any temporary or permanent, so any, no occupancy permit at all.
Yes.
Further discussion? Roll call?
Schultz,
Yes.
Milburn,
Yes.
Huggins,
No.
Templin,
No.
Lane,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Would you like to address 7B?
I make them, let's see, one second.
Sorry. Didn't mean to put you on the spot. Anybody like to address 7B?
Oh, I can, that's fine. Just want to make sure I'm reading the right thing here. Sorry. Okay. Make a motion, we approve the final plat for Project Pilot Phase 1, Agenda Item 7B as presented. I don't think we have to pass it on to council those easements, so make a motion, we approve it as presented.
With staff recommendations.
With staff recommendations.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on 7B? Roll call?
Martin,
Yes.
Templin,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Huggins,
No.
Milburn,
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 7C, for consistency, I think you probably want to have a similar motion that would be subject to the conditions, because that's the, 7C would be the Evergy substation.
Make a motion, we approve Agenda Item 7C, site plan for Evergy Blackbird Substation with staff's recommended conditions, along with resubmittal of a landscape and berming plan for the Planning Commission review and approval prior to any occupancy permits.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on item 7C? Roll call.
Milburn,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Huggins,
No.
Lane,
Yes.
Templin,
No.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Believe that concludes our agenda for tonight. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And we have our next planning commission meeting then is set for,
May 26th.
what did I do with it?
26.
May 26th? May 26th. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We're adjourned. Thank you.